Gemma, your beautiful enunciation of gratitude was received. Blessings to each one of you. We continue on our journey of the beautiful 31 verses of the Bhaja Govindam from the 8th century. These teachings are eternal. In every time and era, they will find their way to the most sincere seekers who wish to awaken from the dreamlike existence of samsara. And the verses we will explore today, verse 22, and hopefully verse 23 also, we are beginning to get some really great insights and tips into the attitudes that we can embrace in dealing with the suffering and the waves of suffering that come at us in samsara. And samsara, for those who are new, is not just the physical world out there, because in the physical world, different people are having different experiences. So it's the same world for everyone, but it's interaction of our minds, interactions of our karmas, interaction of our vasanas or deep-seated desires, yearnings, cravings, frustrations. All of that put together creates this soup of suffering. And we're each projecting our suffering onto the other also. So it's a very confusing landscape. And what is worse, in verse 21, we saw that it seems like our mind is leading our Atman, ourself, until and unless we awaken and take back our sovereignty. So the mind just keeps dreaming a new dream, a new story. So the moment it's done with this story, it's going to drop this body, which others call death and cry and lament, but the mind is unstoppable. It's going to begin another dream, and it's going to begin the dream in the mother's womb and have this whole story that I lay in this womb, I emerge from this body, so I belong to this body, and all these people belong to me who look like this body, and all those people who don't look like this body don't belong to me. And the saga will begin until it drops the body again. So in verse 21, we saw the prison that samsara is because of the compulsive manufacturing of life stories by the transmigrating mind. Atma is still, but it's almost like a parent has an indulgent, spoiled child, and that child is taking the parent here and there. It's the same way that our mind is taking us from this story to that story. It's good news when the mind stops just long enough to receive this kind of liberating knowledge. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to me. Congratulations to each one of us who is partaking the nectar of non-dual Advaita Vedanta, sitting at the feet of great rishis, acharyas, teachers, parampara. Because this is a significant life dream for us. And that is why in verse 21, when we understood that samsara is commanding from us repeated births and repeated deaths, which are the so-called beginnings and endings of a life dream. And again, part of that dream is to have this experience, because the mind constantly experiences these cramped quarters in the mother's womb. And again, to be born to deal with the sufferings of life, transience, change, impermanence, and then again to die. My goodness, this is not easy. And that is why the name of the student was Dhrida Bhakti, These were great students of a great Acharya. Obviously, these learnings are all reflections of what they learned from their teacher and from the tradition. So he chanted the iconoclastic verse from Bhaja Govindam, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jathari Shayanam, Ihi Sansare, Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare, again and again birth, again and again death, again and again lying, cramped in mother's womb. This samsara is real suffering. Take me across the ocean, oh Murari. So this Govinda, Murari, represents Ishvara, the cosmic intelligence. This is not just one version of God understood by the Vedic civilization, but it represents everything, the all-pervading godliness factor, the ultimate truth. So now we are going to look at verse 22. We continue, and in this verse, there are some interesting factors you want to look at because Nityanatha, the student of the disciple of Shankara, who enunciated this verse, um, talks about who is free. There are some few, you can count them on the fingers of your hand, who are free even inside samsara. And what do they look like? And what do they think like? And so this gives us some clues. Are you ready? Okay. Rathyacarapata virachita kantha punya punya vivarajita pantha. Again. Rathyacarapata virachita kantha punya punya vivarajita pantha yogi yoga niyojita chitto ramate balon mat tava deva yogi yoga niyojita chitto ramate balum mat tava deva bhaj govinda bhaj govindam govindam bhaj mudamate bhaj govindam Bhaj Govindam, Govindam Bhaj Mudamate. So the first line says that we see this really satisfied person, though they may be wearing rags. Now, it doesn't mean that if you're self-realized, you have to cut your clothes and wear rags. But what it really means is that most of us get so busy adorning this body made of flesh, blood, urine, feces. We are so consumed and so concerned. But what we notice in this happy yogi, the truly joyful yogi, is that they may be wearing some discarded clothes. So this is symbolic of and indifference that we are going to look at. And we will then look at it. This verse also says that typically our minds are so consumed with vice and virtue, good and bad, right and wrong, but they seem to have transcended it. Does that mean we are saying that the self-realized one is careless, doesn't care? After all, what we have learned up till so far about dharma is to discern carefully. Then what do you mean that this person is not consumed with right and wrong when the rest of us are consumed with it at every moment of our life? And if we take wrong decisions or endorse wrong decisions, we suffer. There are consequences to our decisions. So why is this person free of that too? And then this verse says, and this yogi lives in steady communion with that cosmic power, with that Ishvara, with that ultimate divinity, and constantly enjoys bliss. And as a result, they behave in two ways. They either behave like children, because children will wear the wrong shoes on the wrong foot, the wrong socks on the wrong foot. Their clothes may be stained, but they are smiling with the big toothless grin. So they behave either childlike, or they behave like a madman, as if they are intoxicated on alcohol or something. They will grumble and they will mumble and they will laugh when others are crying, and they'll cry when others are laughing. What this is all, again, this is not a description of a self-realized person, and this is not the only description. But what this is showing is that they're not really following the proprieties of society. They're not that conditioned. And that's why they're often misunderstood also. So let's talk about this. So, this ease with wearing rags, we see this mentioned in verse 19 of the Bhaja Govindam also. Not exactly this, but the question of, like, the one who is truly knows the Atman, knows the self, they may be consumed in yoga, disciplines, and meditation, or they may be in a bhoga, they may be enjoying the life. But ultimately, the true one is not necessarily the one who is meditating in propriety on the yoga mat, nor is the one who is enjoying the life, but the one who knows the Atma. If you remember that verse, Yoga Rato va, Bhoga Rato va, Sangarato va, Sanghavihinaha, Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam, Nandati Nandati Nandatayeva. Whether you are doing or being in yoga, whether you're enjoying life with bhoga, whether you live in community, sangha, whether you live in strict isolation, sangha vihina, only those are enjoying the true joy, full nectar, laddus inside them, who are enjoying Atma, Brahman. So, what they are trying to say here is that there is this special, words fail me here. I cannot call it vibration, I cannot call it energy. I would just say it has to do with the mind. Your mind shifts into this gear of acknowledgement of self and Ishvara. I think some of you are getting there. I see that. I read that in your words. There's this special rendezvous that is happening of self and divine, which are one. Initially, they feel different, and then you realize it's one. So when that happens, things don't matter that much, believe me. And that is why you could walk around wearing rags and feel pretty majestic. You could have your outer circumstances, including political elections going south for you, or your corporation firing you, or your best friend stabbing you, best friend. It's like, okay, Ishvara stabbed. All right, come back to yourself. Okay. So you change in that equation of knowingness. That is why this is Jnana Yoga. That's why jnana means that knowingness. It happens somewhere inside you. It doesn't require yoga mats, it doesn't require yoga clothes, it doesn't require special malas, it doesn't require going on a pilgrimage, it doesn't require standing on your one leg and chanting Om Namah Shiva. All those things are ancillary to this place of knowingness. And we find once again, the students, it's so beautiful. That's why I have pulled out these special additional verses for you to share with you today, because these students are also part of a tradition. So these students also enunciate some verses of their own in this dialogue between teacher and students. We've already seen the first 13 verses from the teacher, and now we are seeing it from his illumined, enlightened students who became acharyas unto themselves. But they seem to come up with verses which are also reminiscent of the spoken tradition. So we have one such verse, very similar to this verse 22, in another composition called the Avadhuta Gita. In fact, the first two lines are completely the same as verse 22 of Bhaja Govindam. And what are they? Rathyakarapata Virachita Kantha Punya Punya Vivarajita Pantha. What does it mean? The enlightened one may be nude, or maybe walking around in some clothes that they've picked up along the way. Uh, and they are devoid of the contemplation of what is virtuous and what is non-virtuous. And what does this mean? We have to unpack that. That's really important. And stays, and the next lines are, it has my name in it, Shunya, which means emptiness. Shunya gare tishtati nagno shuddha niranjana samarasa magna. I chanted it in the same tone as Bhaja Govindam, because it has that same number of words to be chanted. Although this is not the exact chanting meter of Avadhuta Gita, but just for continuity's sake, I did that. And what are the next two lines saying? That instead of their mind being consumed with right and wrong, it is an abode of divine emptiness, shunyata. And they are in that emptiness, empty of samsara, empty of mental frustrations and afflictions of samsara. They are absorbed in the pure, stainless, blemishless, known as Niranjana. It is known as Vimala. This beautiful, blemishless, just sparkling, divine, pure, samarasa, homogeneous. Whenever you go into that place, you're not divided up. You can try that right now. Deep inside you is this homogeneous, samarasa. Rasa means flavor and sama means same. It's the same. If things are difficult outside, you can still go inside and experience that samarasa, sameness, divine flavor, divine joy, divine okayness. There's this being, samarasa. And magna, that word means you are just consumed in that. So this is how they behave. So let's unpack this verses again. The alluding to rags means some degree of indifference to the comfort, position, posture, prestige of the body, because the body consciousness is less, and that is key. If one is only thinking of the body, then one thinks of bodies, house, bodies, food, bodies, relatives, bodies, friends, bodies, entertainment, and one leads a completely materially dense life as a body. And then when the body dies or begins to die, one worries that I'm about to be extinguished forever. And and perhaps this is the only tradition that tells you that the death of the body is not the death of you. Be concerned about your next journey. Be concerned from where you came from. Be concerned where you are going. Oh, my dear, this is just changing of the clothes. The mind will be off on its next adventure. Again, you will find a womb, and again, you will have a bodily existence. So, wearing rags means a bit more freedom. Instead of spending all your life trying to lose weight, look good, feel young, follow Ayurveda lifestyle wisdom, simply live by sun, moon, wind, be blessed by them, live by nature, bow to them, and know that whatever food you are eating, at some point you will quit this body, put it into the earth, or burn it in ashes, or float it in water, and it will become food again for so many others. That is the end of the body. That is the niyati, the destiny of the body. And beyond that, if still diseases come due to karmic nature, big ones, afflicted ones, terminal ones, bow to Ishvara's will and say, okay, the stopwatch has begun, the body will be quit. May my mind remember. It does not want to travel. It wants to merge in you. It wants to merge in you. No more traveling. No more dreaming, no more adventuring. So this lessening of the body will also, consciousness will also end hatred around the type of body, the color of the body, the clothes of the body, the class of the body, the nation of the body. Body consciousness is a source of hatred in our human existence. So the next question that's raised by this verse is, how can possibly an enlightened one be beyond vice and virtue? Isn't that what all religions talk about all the time? Have virtue, have virtue. Then how does a Vedic yogi truly go beyond vice and virtue? So when a yogi starts living with this level, this kind of knowledge, not level, but this kind of knowledge, because a yogi awakens in the Vedic tradition not by going off in the mountain and meditating alone, but by learning from a parampara. Learning these kind of teachings have to come to you. When they come to you, then you start living like a lotus, like a blossom lotus in dirty water. The dirty water, if you've seen lotus leaves, or water cannot touch it. The leaves are always pristine. And sometimes you can burn things and there is lots of smoke in the sky. And the sky will look like it is full of smoke, but actually the smoke cannot touch the sky. In the same way, the deep inside inner being of the one who knows now, the jnani, the yogi, their inside is Atma, and it is untouched by the realms of samsara, which demand good or bad. Okay. So they are actually becoming more and more blemishless, more and more stainless, more and more inherently aware of their purity. So to be able to go beyond the merit and demerit of any action, because it has karmic consequences. Dark actions have dark karmic return, and good actions have good karma return. And in my other classes, I will talk to you about being discerning. But in this Vedanta class, I am telling you another way. And that other way is a karma yoga teaching and a jnana yoga teaching. Together, they work together. We are being asked to dissolve our notion of doership. Just like our body just belongs to Mother Nature, we have borrowed 5 elements from it. Whatever food our mother ate, our soul weaved up a body, and then it will discard the body, offer it back to nature. In the same way, if our mind if we don't think of it as separate from the divine mind, the cosmic mind, but think of it only as an intrinsic, inherent aspect of that divine self, then our personal, small, collapsed sense of doership, me, mine, I, this, that, will dissolve. This sense of doership, it is this doership I do is because of which I attract consequences. So this is the essence of Karma Yoga, which I will go into in great detail in year 2025, beginning with the first Tuesday of January. And if you watch it later, then you will find it on YouTube. But the point is that this doership has to go. And I will share with you 4 teachings from the Bhagavad Gita that Ishvara, Krishna, gave to Arjuna. Krishna can take many forms. One of the forms was Arjuna. Krishna can take the form of a rock that saves you when you are falling down the mountain. Suddenly a rock shows up. That's Ishvara too. Ishvara can show up inanimate, short-lived form, long-lived form, any form, part of the world's nature, because Ishvara is that. So when Arjuna was a soldier and he was in the middle of a war called Mahabharata, and this war had emerged between princes who belonged to the same family, and they were fighting over inheritance. Arjuna was on the good side, people who were not scheming and usurping, and his cousins were on the bad side. But still, he lost his strength when he saw his own relatives on the other side, people he had played with and grown up on their lap and, called them family and maybe met them for festivals together and shared secrets. As a boy, he couldn't really pick up his bow and arrow and just begin shooting. That would be too mechanical. And yet he was a soldier and he had a duty towards his kingdom to protect it from the usurpers. So he had duty and he had his feelings, and his feelings were overshadowing him. So the so the so the should I do this? Should I not do this? What is the merit? What is the demerit? What would be the karmic consequences known as papam, dark consequences, punyam, good consequences? What do I do? And typically our minds are like that. But what did Krishna advise him? Krishna starts with Jnana Yoga. And Krishna says, Na jayate miyate na va kadachi nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. And what does Krishna say? Look here, Mr. Arjun. Self cannot be killed. That is only at the level of the body. So first of all, get clear. First of all, operate in the realm of this is body. At least in the beginning, you have to understand that self is eternal. At least just accept it, that there is an unperishable part of you, and that's the you. And all the perishable parts of you are not you. So in essence, nobody really dies. There is no death except to the discarding of the body, like we discard clothes when we wake up and take a shower, is called death. The soul is neither born nor dies, says Krishna in this verse of the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, which is on YouTube. Details. This is verse 20 of the chapter 2. Very important chapter, especially verses 11 to 22. So the body does not, the body only dies, the self does not die. And nor having once existed, the Atma stops to exist. That only happens with the body. It was here today, it died tomorrow. When people die, what do we say? Oh, I just talked to that person yesterday. Where are they now? Not there. This happens to the body, not to the Atma. And what is the Atma? The Atma is without birth, without death. It is a eternal substance, spiritual substance. It is immortal and ageless. It does not age or decay either. It is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. First of all, this clarity was given. Let's talk about Atman. Then the second teaching that Krishna gave him, and I've summarized it, how Arjuna, how we can go beyond merit and demerit, how we can go beyond personal doership. The second teaching that Krishna gave Arjuna was, you really have to go beyond this sense of personal doership and do your cosmic duty. Each one of us, we will realize, for example, I have realized that Ishvara has made me be born in Baba's home, gave me knowledge, gave me speech. I could not speak eloquently. Ishvara improved my speech also. I could not write an essay, help me write books also. Every kind of knowledge is flowing through me. Okay, what is my duty? Give it back. Give it back. So similarly, if a hungry person shows up at my house and I have food, what's my duty? To feed that person, right? If a lost dog is found by me, what do I have to do? Bring that dog home and then find its home. So it's a duty to Ishvara, that greater purpose. So in the second teaching, I don't know if I have the time to go through all the verses, but in the second teaching, Arjuna says, look here, you don't have to fight for your sake, because then your body, then the relatives of your body, all that starts confusing you. Do your duty. You were born into a kingly family, you were made a prince, you were given the weapons, you were taught between right and wrong, you were provided two kinds of guru, a jnana guru and a war guru. You have been provided by Ishvara, set up whatever you need. Now fulfill your responsibility. That's it. And when you fulfill this responsibility, you do not have to think about papam, that I will incur sin. No, because you are doing your duty for Ishvara, for that greater good, for the greater cosmic reason. Do your duty. That's it. Do your duty. Just like um, just like we have, even if even if even if there is a situation of lack, we have to do our duty by trying to provide for our children. So we just have to do our duty. We cannot collapse as a body in that and take personal doership around it. Give up attachments and perform actions from a sense of duty. The third teaching that Ishvara gave Arjuna and to all of us was, look, when you do your duty, don't try and control the outcomes. And this is the famous verse, karmannevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana karma phalhe turbuhu sango sattva karmani. You have the right to perform your prescribed duty. Like I have a right to perform my prescribed duty as a teacher. But I have no right and no entitlement to control the fruits of my action. How many students will show up? Oh my God, I'm holding my breath. What's going to happen? Will they learn? Will they understand? Will they take notes? Will they respect? Will they this? Will they? You do your duty. You show up. I love um, motherly love. Motherly love to my dog. Okay, how long will the dog live? Will my love immunize him from death? No, it's not our job. Whether the dog will live till today or till tomorrow or for 5 more years or outlive this body, that body will live longer. That is not my job. My job is only to care and nurture and feed and give safety to my dog. So just stay focused on your duty, and then all these questions, afflictions will not come in your mind. And the final teaching that Krishna gave many teachings, but I'm just bringing them down to four, is when you perform your duty, do it from a place of inner, um, inner, inner equanimity, because you abandon your attachments to the whole thing. So when you start living on this world plane, in this samsaric plane, and you do your duty, whether you are a high school teacher, whether you're a clown, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a parent, whether you are a grieving partner, doesn't matter. Do your duty without the fruits of action, and as a result, without attachment to the fruits of action. So attachment, bring it back into Atma, bring it in back to Ishvara. Then what will happen is that you will automatically, your boat will be led by Ishvara. It will automatically be led by Ishvara, and you will not have to have this level of doership and control and attachment, and then all those karmas come back to you. Now, let's give you a positive example of this. I'm a spiritual teacher, and I think there is not a day when I don't get a gratitude letter, or we have a forum in the Vedic study circle sometimes. When I log on, I see grateful notes there. And also people find their way to send me notes to my assistant or those who know my emails, or I get physical letters from past students who know my address. So flowers, books, Christmas gifts, New Year gifts, Guru Purnima gifts, Dakshina, all these things are happening in my life. Flowers on my birthday, these things happen. Now, it's a beautiful life. However, if I uh, if I'm working to get this, then the day it drops or is less would be a worrisome day for me. It would not be a samsara free day. I would be afflicted. Secondly, if I really feel this is, I am doing it, so it's coming to me, then what happens is that all the good karmas that this body is gendering is also going to make me take another birth to enjoy more. Because this mind did a lot of good for a lot of people. Let us give it an elevated birth. Now it will have the benefits, all the greeting cards that I received and all the giving that I gave has now transformed into 10 million more lifetimes of happiness. But is there any real happiness in samsara? More money in your life, more health in your life, more friends in your life, leading a very, or you not on earth, but the next, you're now not in a 3-star hotel, but a 4-star hotel of the world, or a 5-star hotel, or a 10-star hotel. These are higher and higher lokas. Because why? Because you did a good job teaching Bhaja Govindam on earth. Now we are going to make sure you are born on a 7-star loka. But again, you're born, again you die, and again this goes on. So the true jnanis don't want doership. So even this morning, I'll give an example. When I'm about to teach you, I go to Ishvara's altar and I say, oh Ishvara, become an instrument. Become an instrument. Oh, Shankaracharya, you sat in the frozen peaks of the Himalayas and had this discussion. Well, not just specifically Bhaja Govindam, but he lived in the Himalayas. He disappeared in the Himalayas towards the end of his life. And he chanted the Nirvana Shataka. What were you imparting us? So when we stop being doers, then who is this credit that you're these cards and the dakshina and the flowers and the thank you notes? Yes, I received them, but then they are passed on to my master, the sovereign reality, our common master, Ishvara, our common mistress, our common friend, our common father, our common mother, call it by any name, Christian, Hindu, Islamic, matters not, or abstract scientific jargon, doesn't matter. This way, the doership reduces, and the true jnani neither wants to have doership in dark karma nor good karma, because that karmas oblige one to take on a new life. And that is why we find that a jnani, a true, the seeker that is being described in this verse is experiencing a unique freedom from mental collaborations of vice and virtue. So, an example again in my grandfather's life is okay, we are grahastha yogi, householder yogis. So I have to provide for my children. So I will do this job from this many to this many hours for the government, and I will bring home a paycheck, and the kitchen will go in my house. And anybody who comes can also eat from the kitchen. So many people eat. And because I was born in my father's house, who is a sadhu, so I am also going to give back satsang in the morning and satsang in the night and teach in all my free time to my qualified students. And that's it. That was a simple life. But whenever you looked at Baba, it was the most unassuming life. No grand life of, oh, wow. Simple life. And whenever asked, oh, you did that, you did, as Ishvara wanted. Ishvara Ichha, Ishvara's will. So that doership was extinguished. Ishvara posts signposts in your life. Sometimes people get very proud. I'm a Vedic student. No. Ishvara brought you teacher. Ishvara brings you knowledge. Ishvara allows for it, let it flow like air flows through you. No pride, no aggrandizement of the ego, because that ego wants to be the doer, the knower, the learner, the speaker, the teacher. It has all these adjectives about itself. But what you really want it to be an abode of Atman. So when that happens, so we go back to the verse again. We are about to come to a conclusion for this verse. The verse was indifference to the body. Why? Not indifference does not mean disdain. Indifference means not overly concerned, because this body you will discard at some point. It's just taking care of it. That's it. Feeding it, making it comfortable. That's it. And by discarding the doership and allowing Ishvara to act through you and giving back all compliments back to Ishvara also, just calming down, then what happens is one starts living in communion. Yogi, yogani, yojita chitto. Ramate, Rama means to be in a trance-like state, a happy state, a communion state, and one becomes childlike or a bit like intoxicated with happiness. What is this happiness? Listen up. There are 4 kinds of happiness. There is the tamasic happiness, which comes from there is the tamasic happiness which comes from things like alcohol and cigarettes and what is called vapes and I'm going to have to say it, but from violence. Some people enjoy being violent, abusive, from sleeping extra, not bathing, indulging, being lazy, illegitimate sex, incest. All these are pleasure increase, narcotics, being lazy, being cluttered. There's happiness from procrastination. This is all tamasic happiness. Okay. And in the Vedic tradition, it is also called from eating animal meats. It is considered tamasic happiness. Rajasic happiness comes from gratification of the 5 senses and the mind, and excitements and thrills and challenges and getting ahead, and the worldly success and the worldly pleasures and entertainment and recreation and sports and And it's, again, please understand, this is in context. We're going through different types of happiness. And I remember this person who would only feel happy if they walked. So they would walk 50 miles a day. And they were not even a sports person. So, and then they were having cramps in their leg. And so I had to speak to them about enough. So we can really get into this rajas mode of happiness. Sattvic happiness is the happiness you and I are experiencing right now. I in talking about Shastra and you in listening about it, in practicing nobility, dharma, virtues, discipline of waking up and taking a shower or lighting a lamp, these stilling the mind, meditation, spending time in nature, decluttering the house, minimalistic living, donation, charity, Guru Seva, all this is sattvic happiness. So we definitely, as seekers, want to choose sattvic happiness. It stabilizes the body, stabilizes the mind, and reveals the soul. So it's definitely sattvic happiness is our preferred mode. Healthy, um, healthily cooked, mildly spiced, mildly, just enough to help you digest. Fragrant food, all this is sattvic happiness. Then there is a fourth class of happiness, which many of us are yet to discover, though we may have experienced sparks of it. This is the Atmic happiness, the Brahmanic happiness, the Ishwari happiness, the Nirguna, non-attributed, non-qualitative happiness. Nirguna. It is not with guna, but Rajastamas Sattva, beyond it. What is this happiness? This is the bliss or happiness that comes from bhakti, from divine love, from remembering, from chanting, from hearing the stories of God, Goddess, from becoming free of samsara, the freedom that comes from remembering that I am not of samsara, though I'm experiencing this dream. I'm not this body. I am separate. I'm merely experiencing, I'm the observer. I merely experience this separation brings about a happiness. So we have this verse in Vivek Chudamani of the one who experiences this kind of happiness, they become childlike in that sense. In Vivek Chudamani, we have this verse, Vimana Malambya Shariram Bhunak शेषान् विषयानुपस्थितान् परेच्य बालवदात्मवेदत्त बल again, I'll have to start again. विमानमालम्ब्य शरीरमेतत् भुनक्त्य शेषान् विषयानुपस्थितान् परेच्य बालवदात्मवेत्त यो व्यक्तलिङ्गो ननुशक्तभया. The true yogi, the one who is the knower of the Atma, the Brahman, the Govinda within and without, they wear no outward mark. It's not like they have an extra ear or an aura coming out of them. Those are things we project onto our belief. So their body doesn't look different from other bodies. But what you will notice is that things come and go in their life. Projects come and go, circumstances come and go, businesses come and go, relatives come and go. But they seem to have this childlike spontaneity to move forward. They are unattached to these external occurrences. Unattached means they are not imprisoned by it. They are human, but they are not imprisoned by it. and their self rests inside this body and experiences whatever the senses are experiencing, or enjoy whatever is coming to them through the sake of others. What does it mean? Somebody gives them a card, somebody gives them flowers, somebody gives them a cake. So they enjoy it. It has come. So I've enjoyed it. You have not chased it. You have not hustled for it. You've just done your duty. And sometimes some bad stuff comes your way. Okay? Okay. When Buddha was a teacher, his cousin organized a students' coup, and many students walked away from him, declaring his cousin as the Buddha. These things happen. Conspiracy happens with the greatest teachers, greatest masters. What? Because the others are not awake as yet. The others are still in samsara, pulling, pushing, planning, plotting, right? But this one, this enlightened one, who enjoys things when they come through others and does not yearn and grasp them, lives like a child. Isn't a child like that? If the daddy brings a teddy bear, they get happy. But they don't keep a bank account of, I have a teddy bear now, and I must hold on to it forever and ever. And if anybody touches this teddy bear, I will be offended. No. So they really, it's a return to childlike state. And this is why, while a monk may not have a shortage of clothing, sometimes they can wear a rag off the road and be quite happy. Their mind is freed from papam and punyam. And because they do not have a sense of doership, they are totally living as through Ishvara's will and giving they accept what comes from Ishvara. This is a karma yogic teaching, and they give to Ishvara. So they live with uncontaminated bliss of Atma like a child. And sometimes to those people who criticize them, they look like drunkards. They look like, don't you have any planning in life? But they lead pretty enlightened lives. Let me look at the time. No, I could not go into verse 23, so be it. We have some time. There is a plan to complete Bhaja Govindam on December 19th. So it might be that we extend 2 or 3 more weeks and then complete it, because my current pattern is to complete a verse per hour. And we are on verse 22, so you can calculate. We need to go till verse 31, and then we'll have one extra class for Q&A. So let me turn to gallery view and say, Jama to each one of you. Many, many blessings. Continue to cultivate this bhakti consciousness, atmic consciousness, Govinda consciousness within you, and all will be well. Jai Ma, many blessings. And leave the world on its own devices. It's been always around. There have been all kinds of political upheavals, kingdoms made and kingdoms lost, empires made and empires lost. The world will be up to its shenanigans, up and down, round and round. That is samsara. Take care of your mind. It is your most precious commodity, and try to wake it up in this dream. This is a good opportunity. And in fact, the very next verse coming up is about this dream that we are dreaming while awake. Hello, I'm meeting you in this dream. This is good sign. Take care. Bye bye now, Jema.